What is up, guys? JTD here, and I'm here to bring you the wrap-up of Sony's E3 press conference. They filled their conference with 2 hours full of hardware news, software news, and of course, games. And I'm here to talk about all of them. So let's get to it. First up on our list, hardware. Sony came right out of the gate at the very beginning of their press conference and announced a brand new Destiny bundle that they were going to release in September. Now, this isn't going to ship with just some standard PS4. No, that would be much too easy. To make this special, they are releasing a collector's edition of the PlayStation 4, and it will be white. It'll have a white controller and a white finish, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to see it in person because the pictures made it look outstanding. Like I said, that will be released in September, and speaking of Destiny, they plan a beta access for PlayStation 4 users in mid-July. So if you're looking at that game, make sure you pay attention to your calendar and get into that beta. Next up is something that they touched on just briefly, and that is Project Morpheus. That is their new virtual reality headset, and though they didn't say much, it did look pretty badass. So keep your eye out for information as that comes out, and I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty about it as the week goes on. And finally, probably the biggest piece of hardware news that came out of Sony's conference here at E3 was the PlayStation TV. Now, this isn't exactly new, as it was called PlayStation Vita TV before this, but they dropped the Vita, and now it is just called PlayStation TV. If you don't know what this is, it's their brand new device. It connects to your PlayStation 4, lets you play it on a second TV, as well as giving you access to things like apps, and once PlayStation Now releases, you'll have access to all of those games to play whenever you want, whenever you want. And speaking of PlayStation Now, it's time to move on to the software portion of Sony's conference. Now, they didn't talk about much software, but they did make sure to highlight the PlayStation Now service that is currently in closed beta. That beta they announced would be open on July 31st, so any PS3 or PS4 users out there looking into that and who might be interested in that service, mark that down in your calendar and you can get access to that beta on that time. They also announced that the service itself would be open entirely soon after that, so keep an eye out for that. Now on to the portion of the show that everyone was really there to see, the games. Sony dedicated a large portion of their time to talk about indie titles that were to be coming to the PS4. It's to be expected, as Sony really does care about the indie community and dedicates a large amount of their time to those indie games that we all know and love. Some of these games that will be coming to the PS4 and making their console debut are games such as Broforce, Hotline Miami, Loadout, and No Man's Sky. All these are very popular PC games and will be making their exclusive debut on the PS4. Also at the Sony conference, Matt Neva, who you might know as art director behind the PS3 hit Journey, and his studio's Giant Squid made their debut at Sony's conference, announcing their title Abzu. Abzu is a underwater adventure style game. It looks really pretty, just like Journey, so it's kind of to be expected since Matt Neva is heading it, and is to be released sometime in 2016. Not much else was released during the conference, but expect more news to be released on that game in the coming week. And finally, something that probably got one of the biggest ovations of the conference was the announcement that Grim Fandango will be remastered exclusively for the PlayStation 4. Grim Fandango is the Tim Schafer classic, and a lot of people are looking forward to that. So expect more information about that game as well to be released this week. And while Sony had quite a focus on indie titles, there were plenty of AAA titles to be expected. One of those titles was Battlefield Hardline, that during their EA conference announced that the beta for Battlefield Hardline would be released yesterday. I think it's now closed now, so any of you that got lucky enough to join that beta, you have to let us know what you think in the comment section below. Far Cry 4 also got the Sony press conference treatment by releasing an exclusive trailer just for the Sony audience. In the trailer, it featured a couple of new mechanics such as grappling, personal helicopters, crazy elephants, and of course, wingsuits. Pretty badass trailer overall, and they also announced that For Far Cry 4, PSN users can invite their friends to play even if they don't own Far Cry 4. I'm sure plenty more details about that will be released this week, so keep an eye out for that. Also announced during the Sony press conference were a couple new additions to some long series that Sony has already had. Dead Island and Little Big Planet will both be getting new additions to their series, as Dead Island 2 and Little Big Planet 3 were both announced at the Sony press conference. Dead Island 2 released a trailer that featured a little more goofy approach to the Dead Island series, going away from their traditional, in their first game, of a somber, more serious game, to now Dead Island 2 becoming more of a funny, goofy zombie killer game, and in this kind of style of Dead Rising or Sunset Overdrive. And it looks as though Dead Island will be trying to compete in that market. Dead Island also announced that Dead Island 2 will have an exclusive 30-day beta for the PlayStation 4. Big Planet will return after a 3-year hiatus with Little Big Planet 3. They showed an on-stage demo of the game that featured 3 new characters with special abilities such as super speed, flying, and the ability to shrink and grow. Little Big Planet 3 will be out sometime this holiday season, so if that's your style, look for that. New DLC was announced for Infamous Second Son, entitled Infamous First Light, but instead of being exclusive for people that own Infamous Second Son, it looks like they are taking the approach of Far Cry with Far Cry Blood Dragon, and will be releasing it for anybody even if you don't own Infamous Second Son. However, those who do own Infamous Second Son will receive exclusive content in the DLC. This DLC is set to release in August of this year. Remastered games were also a big point of interest at the Sony conference, as The Last of Us, Diablo 3, and Ratchet & Clank were all announced to be remastered and released for the PlayStation 4. Oh, and some game called Grand Theft Auto 5, I think, is gonna make its next-gen debut on the PlayStation 4 in the fall. So, if you care about that, I don't even know what that game is, but yeah, look for that, I guess. And they also said Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 save data will transfer over. I don't think anybody plays it though, so I don't know why they announced it. A couple of brand new titles were also announced during the Sony press conference, those being Entwined and Bloodborne. Entwined is a twin-stick adventure game where you guide 2 lost souls to meet each other. The levels are called Lives, and you go through 99 of them according to the developer. It looks like a beautiful game, and they announced it and released it during the conference. That's right, Entwined is now available on the PlayStation Network store right now. You can buy it for $9.99 and enjoy it right now. The other new game was Bloodborne, coming from developers From Software, the creators of Dark Souls. Their new IP, Bloodborne, is set to release sometime in 2015. They released a trailer during the conference. It had men with torches, skinless demon dogs, and plenty of hacking and blood. What more could you need? Like I said, that is set to be released in 2015. And finally, Sony saved the best for last, announcing 4 huge titles at the end of the night. They announced Mortal Kombat X and Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain by releasing trailers for both, though some people saw the Metal Gear Solid trailer the night before on Sunday when it was accidentally leaked online. Both of these trailers looked absolutely amazing, and you can check them out online, and I definitely recommend so if you enjoy either of those franchises. Batman Arkham Knight was the next major game that they released a trailer for. It featured plenty of Batman badassery and Batmobile driving. They also showed that the main antagonist for the game looks to be Batman villain Scarecrow. Check that trailer out online. It looks really fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on that when it comes out. And finally, Sony saved the best for last and delivered the news that everyone was waiting for. They dimmed the lights down low and unveiled the premiere trailer for Uncharted 4. Now, this is something that everybody was waiting for and was heavily rumored to appear at this conference, and everyone was ecstatic when it finally appeared. Now, not much is known about the game, as the only thing that was shown in the trailer was just Nathan Drake standing up, essentially. But it was enough to make everyone excited, because that means Uncharted 4 is in the works. Overall, Sony had a very good conference. There were some dual moments, but overall, they saved it with some very big moments in terms of game announcements. And, as always, subscribe to this channel, as well as the official Rooster Teeth No channel, and stay in the know.